Hi, this is Kasian, and it's time for our weekly conference call at Vectorspace AI. We'll start with what's happening around the world, and we're looking at 3 events swaying global markets right now. The first would be a cure for the virus. We're noticing cases spiking in pockets around the world. Eli Lilly and Johnson & Johnson have paused their COVID-19 clinical trials due to adverse unknown side effects. So this puts greater emphasis on drug compounds and the repurposing, repositioning of drug compounds for infectious disease. And our data sets are right now free to download related to drug compounds correlated to other drug compounds, all for the purpose of finding out which drugs might be available to be applied to an infectious disease like COVID-19. The second thing we're looking at would be the U.S. elections. These events are all intertwined. They're dependent on one another in some respects. The third would be the phenomenon of new traders coming online and the growth of online trading platforms, traditional and crypto, continuing to grow. And it's what's driving the markets, some of what's driving the markets. The Nobel Prize was won by 2 women responsible for the development, the discovery, and practical application of Crispr, a way to modify sections of your genome. And there were other Nobel Prizes that were distributed, worth paying attention to, as we work with a few institutions that might receive a few. Other events relate to M&A in the pharma sector, and this has resulted in thematic smart baskets that we're paying attention to. We'll talk more about that later. On the industry side, GPT-3 and BERT continue to make headlines. So it's worth paying attention to those keywords, GPT-3 and BERT, B-E-R-T, when it comes to natural language processing, our industry. On the crypto side, Fidelity is reporting that their clients should position or at least allocate 5% of their portfolio to BTC. And they're also advocating thematic investing. It was announced that $6.7 billion held by public companies, including Stripe, which holds 50 million BTC, and a few others, continues to trend. This trend doesn't look like it's going to stop. From what we observe, public companies understand the value of a trading vehicle, and they understand that BTC and other crypto represent trading vehicles. And positioning in stable trading vehicles is something that they're used to, since they do have a stock associated in their company. We're looking at breakouts related to BTC and ETH, with BTC trading in the range of 11.4 and ETH trading at about 384 right now. And we'll move straight into the corporate side here internally. Everything is steady as she goes. On the engineering, product, and operations side, we are looking at generating automatic backtests where you're able to take a theme, insert that theme, click a button, and get 1 year's worth of performance on that theme. If that theme were made up of a group of traditional stocks and ETFs, then you'd get that as a group or as a basket, as a theme. You'd understand the performance of that over the course of a year. If the basket included crypto and stocks, then you'd get crypto and stocks. But we're working on that because that is important to not only our customers, but those involved with creating baskets internally. Relates to another channel we'll talk about later. We are also heavily focused on CERN, as we have a deadline on the 21st of October here. And the Dataset Toolkit, we're responsible, DevOps is responsible for testing that. I have to have a final look at that too. And we're continuing to engage in dataset builds. On the customers, partners, and collaborators side, again, CERN is a priority. Neudata become a top priority. We've had a couple of calls with them, and we've had a couple of calls with S&P Global, gone back and forth with them, and Morningstar as well, related to agreements. Other partners that we talked about in the past, those are in progress, and a lot of it is just timing. We're trying to prioritize any customers that have revenue sharing agreements with us that are set to talk about us to the public. We're trying to prioritize those first in terms of the resources we use to support or pay attention or move that partnership forward or that customer forward. So basically, Neudata will give us a good spread. So will S&P Global, and so will Morningstar at this point. The others will too. We just are unsure of the timing, midterm timing. On sales and marketing, we've got interesting distribution channels being set up. Interesting defined by distribution channels outside of distributing natural language processing, natural language understanding data sets, but transactional data sets. And we will update the company and the public more on the sales and marketing will update the company and the public more later, and that's going to be related to the kind of transactional data that we're working with offering our dataset distributors who have shown an interest, and it's another revenue stream for us as well. Legal, we'll bypass that. We have nothing to report there. On HR, we've got a couple of interviews scheduled. These are just with data engineers. Data engineers are the number one most valuable resource for us at this point. On the exchanges side, that's moving forward. We're going to be talking with exchanges about our thematic smart baskets for crypto, and that's going to give us a little bit of leverage here in negotiating. We're also going to start. We're going to be reaching out to other exchanges after our customers announce us to the public, and those would include the customers and partners that we've discussed. On the IR, PR, and Marcom side, we are refining our dataset design contest, and we are looking at Kaggle as a way to host the dataset design contest with a $10,000 purse, maybe a $5,000 purse. We're not sure yet. We're still in the analysis mode, but it's a great way to engage in an alternative PR effort here. And then in terms of IR and Marcom and PR, as mentioned, we are prioritizing our partners and customers in terms of when they can issue PRs. And we've got number 1, Neudata, number 2, S&P, number 3, Morningstar, number 4, alternativedata.org. That's one that I did not mention before. It's also key to remember that we're creating a network of dataset distribution points, with each point being a multi-billion-dollar company and a revenue-sharing partner. And that in itself is a PR machine, which is a gift that just keeps giving. So that's one way to look at how we're structuring our PR strategy here. It's not just a matter of issuing a press release, not at all what we want to do. The best kind of PR, of course, is word of mouth. You've got your product being recommended to others, friends recommending it to friends. And of course, we are outlining our strategy for dataset distribution points, which include these multi-billion-dollar companies and the revenue sharing agreements and the PR pipelines, and we are updating the company every week, but we are still moving on parity with available engineering resources. Nothing happens without engineering. So I want to make sure that the public understands that this is a technology company, and at our core would be data engineering, data science, developer operations, standard software engineering. Next, we'll move on to questions from the trader base. The first question is, I know Kraken was mentioned in the last call, but are there any other exchanges on the horizon? I know it's not a priority, but looking to gauge what could be coming. I kind of answered that a bit before. We can also say as a company that it's more likely that you'll hear from a multi-billion-dollar customer of ours before you'll hear about an exchange. And one of the reasons for that is that's how we're gearing things. We want the world to know first from our customers who we are. We don't need to exclaim from the mountaintops who we are. We'd like our customers to do that. We don't need to communicate to exchanges the value of what we do. We would like our multi-billion-dollar customers to communicate to exchanges and the public about the value of what we provide them, and the fact that they can't do it themselves, and that's why we provide it to them. So that connects to us being, of course, a quality crypto. And exchanges also like to list cryptos that power multi-billion-dollar publicly traded companies with data sets that power their customers with AI and ML pipelines. The next question is a hypothetical situation. That's how it starts. A company puts in an order for 1 million worth of Vectorspace AI services. Their wallet is populated with 500k worth of VXV. Do they have access to that wallet for the purpose of trading VXV? For example, if the price of VXV rose by 50%, it would be a prudent business decision for them to withdraw and sell their VXV and resubmit an order. They could do that, but they would lose their rights and privileges to a dataset, the dataset that they're making money from, and they wouldn't want to do that. Now, if they're done making money from that data set, or if they're done with generating discoveries or new hypotheses, or examining it, or running it through a pipeline with a million other data sets to see if they can derive additional signal or alpha, and their algorithm set has produced or has decayed, and they want to move on to another data set, they are free to liquidate their VXV on the open market, or they're free to sell it back to us, or they're free to give it away if they'd like, or hold on to it. And it seems that the answer you are looking for here is whether or not they'll create sell pressure. And the answer to that is no. The next question is, can one person alone buy datasets? Yes. If you own VXV, you own the right to access one dataset which generates thematic smart baskets you can trade. At a minimum, you'll have access to a free tier which would enable access to thematic smart baskets, and of course those are generated using a dataset. So your minimum amount of VXV will allow you access to that. So as an individual trader, you can access a dataset or a smart basket or a signal or the API, use that as an independent or individual trader. The next question is, can you explain some of the use cases for the datasets? We certainly have explained use cases. We've got companies that have explained use cases of our datasets, such as Elastic. I'll go over them real quick here, but you can also research the use cases online. But briefly, number one, drug repurposing or drug repositioning, and that saves lives. It solves for diseases, makes pharma companies money, and creates funding for new research. It's a virtuous cycle as our datasets are used in new research purposes or new research phases. Number two, automated thematic investing. It would be important to look up the definition of thematic investing. Just do a Google search for thematic investing and you'll find that is a trend that's making people money. And the reason for that is you can think of an unlimited number of themes. And these apply to not just the traditional stock markets around the world, but the crypto markets. And we automate thematic investing. That's another way to look at what we do. And in terms of use cases. And number three, a broad way to look at what we do as a use case would be that we provide up to a 20% bump in accuracy, increase in accuracy and precision or signal or bottom line, alpha or profit. If you have existing data sets and you append or augment our data sets to your pipeline, there is a possibility that you'll get up to a 20% bump or increase in accuracy and precision. So those are three use cases. They're broad, and we've got an unlimited number of use cases based on what you can do with datasets. The next question is, what do you put on the datasets to find hidden relationships? And this is a very difficult question. It's a bit like asking how does a car move forward, but we're going to give it a shot here. The datasets are a representation of human thought. For example, what do you think of when you think of dexamethasone? That's a drug compound for COVID-19. You might think of a few other things since it's been in the news. Or what do you think of when you think of the word sky? You might think of the word blue. Those are correlations. And a lot of these correlations that we derive, they have causes. They're the result of an analysis of human language. And this is done by getting machines to read and learn from human language. You can also correlate anything to anything. How strong that correlation is another story, or in what context that correlation falls. Correlations are calculated. These scores are stored in a data set which is used to engage in unsupervised clustering. And that is a fancy way of saying it's a recommendation system. And most people are familiar with recommendation systems in music and movies and stocks, genes, and drug compounds. Customers who bought this also bought that. Amazon uses 33% of their revenue, I think, was responsible for that recommendation system. Or the recommendation system is responsible for 33% of the revenue. The next question is, I have seen that it's 99 cents for an update, but how much does it cost to get started? On the commercial side, for commercial use, there's a minimum of 100 updates per month, so that's about 99 bucks. And on the academic side, 1 update per month, which is 99 cents. The next question is, can you please provide us details regarding the token distribution? I'm aware that Vectorspace operates like a startup company, but I would like to know more details about what you're going to do with the rest of the tokens on the team's wallet. Well, the only thing we're going to do is increase the number of those tokens. We're going to engage in buybacks. We're going to increase the number of VXV. They're too valuable, so that's what you can expect. On the strategy side, this is our final section. As mentioned, we're going to be adding additional dataset types. We've always wanted to do this, and this fits into a larger strategy that we have, which is creating a universe of datasets that power the world's AI and ML systems. On the retail and the consumer side, we are going to actively pursue a retail or a consumer side offering. And that's going to be by the way of creating subscriptions to thematic smart baskets. And we've opened up a channel, VXV-thematic smart baskets-tier-1. And here we have assignments distributed to a few team members to do the following: thematic smart basket construction and trading. On this channel, we'll be sharing a few trade secrets and a few things we've learned about constructing smart baskets and filtering. So these task assignments and deliverables for execution by our team members are going to include scanning for global events. So if there's a global event, we're going to have a team member publish that event to this channel, and that event will be used as a theme to create a smart basket. So you'll have a thematic smart basket. For example, a cure for cancer. That would be, if that happened, that would be significant and a theme that we'd want to create a smart basket for and trade. A global pandemic. We created a smart basket for the coronavirus. Or a groundbreaking discovery of any kind, or a multi-billion-dollar M&A event. AMD bought Xilinx. AMD XLNX is Xilinx's symbol. And that was an M&A event that represented a theme. So if you've got one company that buys another for billions, then you're going to have a group of companies that surround that event that are also going to rise in value. One or two might fall in value, and therein lies another portion of the alpha to extract. Another person will be responsible for theme generation. So you have got scanning for global events, and now you've got theme generation, the actual generation of the theme. And every global event is described using human language. A global event can be broken into topics, and these topics can serve as themes to generate a thematic smart basket. A global event can be a press release or a breaking news event. And you can take this global event and do a few interesting things with it. And this goes into the basket generation. So we've got scanning for global events, we've got the generation of the theme, and now we've got the actual basket generation. This will be handled by a few team members. And this happens when you take a global event and you choose topics or sets of keywords inside that press release that describes that global event, or inside that news article, or whatever it is. And once you extract those keywords, you can do this automatically, or you can have a curator, market researcher, extract these keywords and then generate a basket where the data set is queried and a set of cryptos or stocks are associated to what's queried, and that results in the basket. Optionally, you can use context control, or you can choose data sources, and these will be available after we integrate with the S&P Global API. And then next, you've got basket filtering and curation. So we'll have a group responsible for that. And that's where a lot of your alpha comes in, because you can filter based on known indicators, based on proprietary indicators, based on known fundamentals, like the float or the circulating supply, or based on proprietary metrics that we come up with internally, or that are provided by or black boxed by one of our customers. Next, basket component capital allocation, weighting and balancing. We'll have another group responsible for that. Performance tracking and reporting. We'll have another group responsible for that, or an individual. So that the tracking and performance of the baskets. This goes back to the backtest, which I described earlier, related to automatically generating a year's worth of returns for a theme. So we'll have this person track performance of the thematic smart basket this way. And again, this is for the purpose of refining our consumer or retail offering to the public based on subscriptions, another form of revenue for us. And then each basket represents a PR opportunity, an IR and Marcom opportunity. We wrapped PR around that coronavirus basket, and that basket performed quite nicely. We're going to be doing this for every basket we have. And let me not say every basket, but baskets that we select that would be PR worthy. And that's going to be another PR cycle that we will keep the public updated on. Trading and execution we'll cover separately. And it would seem like we're talking about giving away quite a bit of proprietary information related to how baskets are constructed and traded, and how alpha is extracted based on filtering. But this is really just the tip of the iceberg. There's a whole lot more to it that we have yet to tell the public about, and we are reserving for other kinds of activities in the market and for other kinds of customers. In particular, our internal investment club. So, in conclusion, and on another note, we're going to have billion-dollar competitors arrive on the scene here, and you're going to hear about this in the news. We don't have word yet, in particular, about any particular competitor, but we do have our ears to the ground, and we are in communication with other data engineers inside a number of groups. You're going to hear about competitors in our field, right in our area here. And that's going to be nothing but a good thing. We'll talk more about that later. For now, this has been a pre-recorded call. If you have any questions, feel free to post them online. Thanks for joining.